Welcome back to Star Wars Nerds Unite, the best Star Wars podcast that ever was. Right, guys?
Yeah.
Ever's pretty long time.
Jeez. Always killing my flow. I am your host, timvanautreve. Joining me, as always, are Josh the Tosh, internet famous, Mason.
Hi.
And Jennifer, Perfect Vision, vanautreve.
2020.
Hi.
I will. Her new nickname's 2020.
Thanks.
She recently got LASIK, folks. We are going to be having our Rogue One roundup. Is that the name we settled on?
We didn't talk about it, so I assume that's what we settled on.
Rogue One Razzmatazz?
No.
Rogue One Ramalama Ding Dong?
The first one was fine.
Ramadama Dizzle? I like them
First
all.
one was okay.
You can name it a Ramadamadizzle.
We are going to be reading everybody's emails that sent in. We got so many.
Unless it takes too long, and then we'll do a second one.
Then we'll do a Ramadamo Ding
Ding-a-dong.
Dong
Ding Dizzle.
Ding Dizzle 2 comeback episode.
The first one.
So this is heavy spoilers for Rogue One.
Oh, yeah, that's a good thing to say. And I guess I should explain. We are a Star Wars podcast.
Sometimes.
We always are.
We're mostly a Montgomery Ward Tiller podcast. Moonlights.
I wish we
We
were.
talk a lot about pergolas.
I wish we would.
Pergolas.
Pagola. What else were we talking about? Oh, yeah, the theme song you heard at the beginning of the episode is by the Fantastic Plastics, who are quickly gaining popularity in New York City in the underground music scene. Do you know that?
Isn't that like a bad thing? If you're in the underground scene and you get popular, don't you want to be ironically not popular?
No, it's not a bad thing to be.
Okay.
No, you don't
That's
want to
why
be
I'm asking.
ironically unpopular. You would. There's still that mentality.
You want people
where
to buy your stuff, but you want no one to show up to your shows.
No, you want people to show up to the shows and
But
buy your
not buy your
stuff.
stuff.
You just don't want to be like on MTV or something.
Oh, okay.
Or whatever the kids do nowadays for that.
So you only want to be sort of popular.
But this group would want to be on MTV because they would put out a crazy video. They already have some on YouTube if you Google them.
Google?
Google them.
Or search them on YouTube.
Yeah.
They want to be Michael Clark Duncan popular.
They're more popular than that already.
I don't think so.
Tyson, the lead guy on there, wants to be on our podcast. He wants to talk about, he had Rogue One thoughts.
Well, why didn't you invite
I told him to come
It's
over.
a little late for that. Given that this is our Rogue One episode.
It's our second Rogue One episode.
Ramadamadizzle. All right, here we go. The first one that we got was, first day, first guy, was our first email, probably, almost, was Adam_Strange. He says, "What's up, nerds? Just got in from seeing Rogue One." He abbreviated to RO. I think that's what the kids are doing.
I've seen a lot of R#1.
I've seen that
Really?
one also.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that. That seems even cooler. Me and Adam_Strange and our Montgomery Ward Tillers are just not keeping up.
Anytime I see Ro, I think of Rosie O'Donnell, because wasn't that like what people used to call her, like her nickname?
I'm embarrassed for you.
I've
that
never
you know
heard
Ro.
of it.
Anyway,
I know Adam loves Rosie O'Donnell too, so.
just got in from seeing Rogue One, and it was everything I wanted to see. I wanted the nitty-gritty done, and done well. Came straight home and turned on A New Hope. R2 just got zapped by the Jawas. I would not go so far as to say I could rank it among the others just yet. I've seen the others, minus the prequels, which for the most part don't exist in my mind, hundreds of times. Will RO hold up after multiple viewings? Probably. Highly probable. My feelings or my rankings will be Empire, New Hope, Force Awakens, RO, Jedi. Peter Cushing's CG was superb. Leia's a little weak, but she didn't have any wrinkles to hide the inconsistency, but well done overall. This is not a prequel, it is a bridge story. See what I did there? Nah.
I don't see what he did.
You're lying. Anyway, I can't wait to hear you all give your takes. Love you guys. Hope you all have a great Christmas. Oh yeah, it's after Christmas by now. Sorry, buddy. Merry Christmas to you. Adam_Strange, hashtag Nerd Squadron, hashtag Everybody Muster. I think everybody did.
A lot of people did. My main comment from his email, I watched it a second time Saturday.
Yeah.
A few days ago. There are parts that are better the second time, and there are parts that are worse the second time, and are shocking to me.
What's worse?
How abrupt the beginning and the end are.
I've heard a lot of people complain about the beginning.
Yeah. Because they didn't get it.
Well, and they didn't have the benefit of the book.
Right.
I've heard people complain about the bopping around from planet to planet.
Yeah.
Like, that's the part.
Very disjointed.
I liked that.
Like, why do they
I
have
thought it
to
was
go to so many
interesting, too.
different places, though? Like,
To establish different characters in different places.
Yeah, and it builds the world. Ooh-een.
Just the thing that caught me the most is the ending. It's just super abrupt.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Well, it's because they didn't do that thing that all movies do where there's the moment where the bad guy comes back miraculously.
Well, they did.
They did, but not the way you normally do.
Sure.
You think the bad guy's dead, and then he comes back, and he's about to blast the good guy, but then right at the last second, there was
what do you think
no
was
moment like that.
abrupt?
You go from the Vader sequence to a guy running through a hallway to Leia for 4 seconds, and then it's over. It's just very immediate. And like the way the music goes, it's just very immediate.
They probably had to get away from that CG of Leia because they knew it was not very good.
Yeah.
So
hers was definitely weaker. I agree with that.
Yeah, I do too. Big time. Okay, here we go.
Well, what were they supposed to do? Like, go from Vader to like somebody slowly strolling down the hallway and just like having a conversation?
So the Vader part is super cool, but I think it's super unnecessary at the same time. To the story.
Yeah, but it leaves you with a feeling of that's
They could have
hardcore.
put the Vader part somewhere else. The part about it that's lame, like they didn't have to show Leia literally getting the plans.
No. I mean, they could have showed her back. I think it would have been a better ending if they just hadn't shown her face at all.
Right. Just like the guy walks into the door and the door closes.
Yeah.
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 But that not be the last scene. Like, I would have been totally okay if the last scene was something else.
The last scene is the Devastator. Wasn't that the Devastator chasing the Tantive 4 away, and like something. that's it, and then it bleeds straight into to A New Hope.
I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's just abrupt. The second time I watched it, I noticed it.
We're 8 minutes in, and we've read one letter.
Well, I mean,
all right, here we go. The next one is from our buddy Joel. Oh my gosh, he sent 2 emails, 2 big long ones. All right, okay, here we go. He says, "Good morning, Nerd Squadron. I am writing this in the wee hours of the morn of December 16th, 2016. I had tweeted that I was possibly going to do a Periscope of my reaction, but it wasn't cooperating with me, so I didn't." He's got the same problem Mason does. "Instead, I rushed home from my theater, or at least as much as I could rush on our frozen roads, sat down behind the keyboard and started writing this letter." I like that we're his first thought. "Let me preface this with the fact that I have not listened to anyone's reviews of the movie. Even though Podcast Addict automatically downloaded and placed a review episode into my playlist, I did not listen to it yet. So I know that this letter will not make the review show, but I am fine with that. So let us begin. Holy Sith Lord. Even though it's just a few brief moments in the film, actually seeing Darth Vader engage a squadron of rebel troops in full-on combat caused me to throw both of my hands into the air in absolute delight. It was everything that I could have imagined and more. It, like the rest of the movie to me, was the perfect bridge to bring Revenge of the Sith to A New Hope. Vader knows he didn't have to do anything flashy. Yeah, there we go. He could just wade right into the middle of those 12 troopers and cut them down like sheaves of wheat. That sounds like a sentence you would make, Josh.
I don't think I would use the word sheaves.
I also get a very delightful mental image of Joel in a movie theater throwing his hands up in the air and squealing. It's funny. This movie delivered on what Gareth Edwards promised at Star Wars Celebration Anaheim last year. It was the war film of the Star Wars franchise. There were times in the third act that I would forget that this was taking place a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It moved from one action piece to the next, but took enough rest between those beats that it did not make you feel overwhelmed. That and the fact that it wasn't the same 1 or 2 people who were involved in the major action for each sequence. Diego Luna did a phenomenal job of showing us Cassian's arc, Seeing him blasting his contact in the back at the beginning of the movie to being the one to muster Jin a squadron of rogues. The emotion that he showed just with his face as he attempted to stare down the sight of his blaster rifle, which you should note, Mason, was able to be reconfigured into a sniper rifle,
It was reconfigured.
similar to the one that Chewie was utilizing in the Star Wars comic. Felicity Jones was amazing as Jyn Erso. Some of the earlier trailers gave me cause to pause, as her lines tended to be the ones to take me out of the trailer, but her lines were spot on in the movie. They did seem kind of cheesy in the trailer.
So, side note, I've read lots of articles, and apparently they filmed like 20 hours of, like, an absurd amount of film.
Yeah.
And they would just try out tons of different lines multiple times.
All of her catchphrases.
And that's what got into the trailer. Like, there's like 2 shots in all of the trailers that are actually in the movie. The trailers are basically just all the side shots and excess shots that looked cool, but never made it in the movie.
It'd be cool if there was like an extended cut where they just showed you all 10 hours.
They're not going to do that.
I know. They already announced they're not going to do an extended cut of the movie at all. Ben Mendelsohn, as director Orson Krennic, was the perfect mixture of evil and menacing. He was the perfect foil for Tarkin. There's so much more that I want to get out, but my old bones can't last much longer, so I'm going to bring this letter to a close. Thank you for releasing your Catalyst review ahead of time. I was able to finish listening to it while I waited in line for our theater to be cleared too. May the Force be with you. And then there's like a whole nother letter.
Do you have comments on the first letter, Jen? You've been mum.
I was listening. He's been talking.
Right, so comment.
Silence.
I'm thinking.
Diego Luna was great. The second time I watched it, I noticed it even more.
Who?
I think he was the best. Cassian. The guy who played Cassian.
Oh, yeah. I liked him a lot. The things that... a few things bothered me about it, and one of the things, and we talked about it last time, was how he assembled that group. And
right.
Like it's like all about this group that goes to get the plans for the Death Star, and really you only know a couple of them up until the last second, and then it doesn't even really introduce their names or anything.
I think you're the only one that had a problem with that.
I just thought that was weird. But I liked him.
That you didn't know the characters of all the random soldiers?
Yeah, the red shirts.
All the ones that are like, no, they're going in on a death mission to get the plans with Jin. All of the other rebellion kind of...
But their motivations are encapsulated in Cassian's.
Yeah.
You understand them because you understand Cassian.
So if they had just done like a roll call where they called out their names...
Dieter.
No, I think that they should have...
I'm Klaus.
I just think it would have been more realistic if it was the people that you already had met and had been in the movie the whole time.
Well, those
then
people
it's like,
did go.
Yeah, we're going. And I got all these guys too. And then...
Well, you need guys.
I mean, I don't know. That just seemed really corny to me.
It seemed a lot more believable that they assaulted it with an actual force as opposed to trying to do it with 5 people.
And a droid.
Yes, there's multiple things about each side that would not make sense. Neither way is very plausible, but that's the part.
So when you watched Saving Private Ryan, were you really upset that the main 8 people weren't the entirety of the U.S. military?
Did those 8 people decide at the last second and like?
I mean, they just
hey,
kind of
we're gonna go to war right now.
They kind of rolled into towns and then joined 150 other people who all died for them.
Wow, that's just one thing I didn't like.
I understand.
No, I like Cassian.
You're just wrong.
Private Ryan movie.
Oh, whatever.
All right.
I like Cassian a lot.
I'm gonna read the rest of Joel's letter. This is kind of like one letter is really what he did.
Wait,
he just
agree.
had to put his old bones to sleep.
Yeah.
Some of the trailers with Jin I thought seemed corny.
Yeah,
also,
there was
and I was kind of worried that it wouldn't come across well, but I did like her a lot.
She reminded me of you.
And all the rumors of the reshoots, like, there's more stuff that's coming out about how much they reshot. And a lot of it is they reshot the ending and reshot a lot of the dialogue and stuff.
Why?
So if you remember the trailer, in the trailer, you can see Jin and Cassian running on the beach with the commandos with the Death Star plans. So something significantly changed to them having to beam them up versus how they extracted him and got him out before.
They were probably like, there's no giant tower that we have to...
Well, the thread that people keep pulling on is that in the New Hope, Vader says that the plans were beamed aboard her ship. They were transmitted, so everyone's like, well, you got to show them transmitting the plans to somebody.
Right.
They didn't think about that.
I don't know. That's
until way after they shot the
who knows.
beach scene.
They had the movie done in the can, and they're like,
oh,
shoot,
we
nobody beamed the
We should have watched
plans.
these other ones first.
Better reshoot the whole movie.
Okay, Joel continues. He says, the thing that made it great for me was the fact that all of our heroes were flawed. The appearances of Tarkin, the Ghost, Vader's castle on Mustafar, Saw, Bail, and all the repurposed shots from A New Hope were excellent sprinklings of flavor to tie everything together. The fact these rogues were able to overcome insurmountable odds without the aid of a Jedi was what grounded this movie for me, a grumpy old veteran. I do have some nitpicks, but they are just that, nitpicks. The early jump cuts were jarring, but they evened out. Not having the opening crawl and having planet name title cards bugged me, but I got over it quickly. Some of the jokes felt misplaced, but they were few and far between. Like I said, nitpicks. The fact that this movie caused me to get choked up by the death of a reprogrammed Imperial droid tells me that it was a successful film.
He was my favorite.
I'm planning on seeing it at least one more time with my 10-year-old daughter, who is becoming almost as big of a Star Wars nerd as myself. Ooh, really? Are you planning on taking any of your clan to see it?
I don't think I'm going to show Job until he's older.
I can't afford.
Nolan came
came with us, yeah.
Yeah, he saw it on opening day. The other kids don't care enough to spend the money on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
They would get bored. They would be like rolling their eyes.
They can watch it when it comes out.
Yeah, I'll make them
Blu-ray.
watch it when we get
And they'll actually be watching their phones while it's on the TV.
No, they'll have to put their phones down and enjoy Star Wars. That's a house rule.
And then they'll give you dirty looks.
I don't care about dirty looks. All right, thanks, buddy. Why don't you guys read one of the other ones? My throat hurts.
Okay.
Do the Lady Meg one.
I'll read it since you have a blood feud with Lady Meg.
What?
Who? Me?
Yeah, you.
What are you talking about?
Blood feud. Fight to the death. It's a thing on Twitter.
Read it.
It's a thing, a Twitter thing. Where she said that... I don't remember what she said, but I said that she would start a holy war because of it.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I know, because it was on Twitter, and nobody knows what happens on Twitter.
I don't remember that either.
Jenny was obviously so worked up. She yawned through your whole statement.
Meg's going to tweet something as soon as she hears this, and she knows what I'm talking about.
I don't remember.
She knows what the Twitter is.
Okay.
Okay. Greetings, Nerdmasters. I saw Rogue One at 10 p.m. Thursday night. I almost messaged you to see what you thought of the movie, since you probably finished yours just before mine started, but I didn't want spoilers, as Tim said, or expectations, as Josh said. Here's my 2 cents. I also didn't like Saw much. He totally pulled off crazy, but it felt melodramatic and out of place to me. The jump between him finding Jin and Jin being an adult left me wondering who he was for the first chunk of the film and if he was with the Empire or not. At first I thought, was Jin in prison because Saw discovered and arrested her? I think there are many different ways they could have gotten the story to the same place without his craziness.
I agree. Saw was the worst part of that movie.
So, I loved Saw still. Second time reaffirmed my love for Saw.
What?
I just thought he was just ridiculous and
He was
over the
totally
top.
crazy. That's the best part.
Yeah, he was like, I cannot get that part out of my head where he's like, did you come here to kill me? Like that.
He's crazy.
That makes the movie
Wow,
a notch lower.
That was really good. You should do all Forrest Whitaker roles.
The
You guys have so much in common.
The super goofiest part is at the end when he's about to die and he dramatically pulls out his air hose.
Oh yeah, the whole thing with the air hose was so overdone.
I love it.
He wants one.
Just put on the nasal
breath.
cannula, stick it in your nose, and keep it in your nose. You don't have to do the face mask
Nobody
dramatic.
knows what a cannula is.
A lot of people that are on oxygen know what a cannula is.
I don't see the oxygen tank crowd being heavy listeners to our podcast.
Maybe.
They might be.
Okay.
They might be. If they are, tell us.
Yeah,
All right.
Send me a letter.
Put it on Twitter. You'll know when it's
Yeah,
it,
I forgot about the air mask. That was so over the top.
So one thing about this, it's hard for us to have a perspective about Saw being unexplainable because we had read Catalyst.
Yeah, that's like, I think if I hadn't read that book, I would not like this movie as much because I would be all
I think you would have the same criticism that
Well,
the
I'd be
beginning
like-
of the first 15
yeah.
minutes were kind of
I'd be
weird.
like, what?
Yeah, but it would hit harder.
Right.
Yeah, and the Saw's existence would be way crazier.
Well, yeah,
I thought it was kind of crazy and jammed into the book. Like it was shoehorned in there.
But he
Ugh.
wasn't crazy in the book.
He was crazy in Clone Wars. Like that, it was already sort of established in Clone Wars that he's more of an extremist.
Okay. Anyway, K2SO was hilarious and 10 times more hilarious knowing that he was Alan Tudyk, although I still thought too soon when I saw the big hole in his chest at the end. #Firefly, #forever too soon. I thought Rogue One was named for the characters going rogue rather than being made up of a bunch of rogues, killers, assassins, etc. So I immediately forgot the redemption speech that happened just before they left the base. I think they could have come up with a better reason for those people choosing to disobey orders, but it didn't bother me overly much.
I didn't get that. I mean that they named it Rogue One because they were killers and assassins. I still think it was because they were going rogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the tie. Like, I understand
The pilot
where
just
the
kind
idea
of made
was.
it up at the last second. Like,
Yeah.
they emphasized how he was just like, "Blah, pink ribbon." Like, just, he couldn't think of anything. And he
Right.
just, like, threw out some words.
Yep.
You don't have anything to say about Firefly?
I've never watched
Oh,
Firefly.
I love
think you'd like
Firefly.
it.
I don't like Joss Whedon.
What?
I don't. Too much drama for the sake of drama.
You might like it, though. I liked it.
Firefly's really good. It's a good show.
I don't go
I've seen
bananas
Serenity.
like everybody else.
I thought Serenity was
Yeah, you can't. You can't really watch just Serenity. You got to watch
I
the
did,
show
though.
first. Yeah, and that's why you're
Whatever.
Serenity's good. Where was it? The CGI characters also didn't really bother me. What bothered me more is one of the destroyers early on that was very white and looked like an unpainted model. I also missed everything Vader said because I was too busy studying his costume and mannerisms. It took me a while to realize it was because this is the first time I've really seen him on a big screen, and all of those details are so much more noticeable.
So the whiteness of the Star Destroyer is from A New Hope too. Like they made an exact copy of the model for the Star Destroyer, the original Star Destroyer.
I found myself staring at Vader's costume a lot too. And it was what struck me with his costume and like Krennic and Tarkin and some of the other officers was like how like Walmart Halloween costumey they looked with like big fake buttons, and it was like they
Where did they
went
have fake buttons?
backwards.
Most of them didn't have buttons at all.
like Vader does.
Vader's got all kinds of weird knobs and boot
I thought
diodes and
Tarkin and Krennic. I know Krennic has some weird kind of fake thing on his.
What are you talking about?
It's because they were taking the visual stylings from the
From
old
the
Star
70s,
Wars
right.
movies
But then like magnifying it on
a giant screen.
in much better definition.
Right.
But it looked
I
like they were trying to make it look super fake.
I don't have that. I don't understand that critique.
I didn't
think about it
feel that
next time
either.
you watch
I
it.
just felt like it was authentic.
I was thinking like, wow, they look. It looks like they're trying to make it look like cheap plastic. Like I literally thought they must have been going out of their
Where,
way
though?
to make it look so cheap. I don't know. Every time I saw their uniforms close up.
You're all aping on Tarkin's uniform. He designed it.
Okay.
Yes,
Well, that was
yes,
a
he
long
did.
time ago. Like maybe they should have.
No, it was like a couple years before the movie.
All right. I don't know. Okay. Jin reminded me a lot of Jen. Future cosplay. Feedback on Jin's hair. I would definitely dress up like Jin.
Yeah, except for you cut your hair and now you can't do it.
My dad calls me Jin. He pronounces my name that way. He always has. I don't know why he does. He's the only person. It's weird.
It is weird.
Yeah, he's your father. You'd think he'd get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's never called me Jen.
Jin.
He calls me Jin. Hey, Jin. He's like that. Feedback on Jin's hair.
Unremarkable.
It was okay. It wasn't like...
It was utilitarian.
It's the way I wish Jenny's hair always looked. But she does
disheveled
stuff with it. Yeah. That's like my fave.
If I have like greasy, dirty, disgusting hair and it's like half up and it's falling down and it looks like I ran outside in a windstorm and fell down in the mud and then somehow fell asleep there and got some of it crusted to my scalp.
Oh my gosh.
He will be like,
dumb.
What do you do to your hair?
Do that tomorrow.
He's like, your hair has never looked better. He says that every time I look like crap.
Maybe you should appreciate that.
I don't have a lot of motivation to do much with myself. Okay.
Some women would like it.
I think their man lazy women would really love it. Just kidding. I think they did a really good job of making all the rogues into unique characters, trying to pick a favorite. I enjoyed all of them in different ways. They really felt like a team rather than a couple of heroes with supporting cast. I think they did a good job of introducing a lot of brand new characters who were individual and who you liked for all different reasons. I didn't even think about Kanan or Ezra for your Jedi friend, but I did think, what about Ahsoka?
So I directly responded to this, and I have confirmed it with my second viewing.
What's that?
That's not what he says.
What does he say?
He says he is 180,000% talking about Obi-Wan, because he says, my Jedi friend who served me well during the Clone Wars, which is not Ezra, it is not Kanan. And then he says he does not say she. The she he is referring to is Leia being his messenger.
Right.
To go talk to Obi-Wan.
Okay. What do you think for movie watch order now? I think 4 and 5 should be first to preserve the mystery of Vader's identity, but not sure if Rogue One should go before 4 or after 3. Which sounds like it should mean the same thing, but nope. Or stick to release order and go after 7. I'm leaning toward 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, Rogue One, 6, 7. At least for someone's first viewing. Even though Rogue One and 4 flow into each other so nicely, it's still a prequel at heart and not what I would choose for someone's first introduction to Star Wars. Whew. I wouldn't say this should go first either.
No, but I'm trying to think of where it would go.
I've never had a strong opinion on this, and I will continue to not have a strong opinion on this.
Just a strong enough opinion to state that you do not have a strong opinion. Anyway, I do wish I'd been able to read Catalyst in advance to fill in some of the plot holes. Really glad you got your review podcast out in time. I totally missed the Rebels references. So did I. But I will definitely be listening for them next time around. Speaking of next time, when are you going again? Might I suggest Sunday or Monday evening? If so, can I tag along? May the Force be with you. Lady Meg, #Nerd Squadron First Class.
She has a PS.
I almost forgot. That slicey trapdoor Jin had to climb through. What even? So random, so unnecessary.
I agree.
I didn't think about it during the movie, because you were already, they're climbing and falling, and Cassian, you thought he was dead, and everything was so dramatic anyway, but then after I read her email, I was like, yeah, I wonder, what its actual function was supposed to be. Was there any, was it killing gnats or something?
No, I'm sure somebody thought they've got to have some form of security. Why would there just be this person-sized vent coming out of their super data record storage location. I think it's over the top, but somebody thought it was necessary.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it, but until afterward.
I think they should just have not put it in.
I didn't know that she was around here.
It was really jarring. I think she was visiting.
Oh.
We haven't even seen it a second time yet.
Yeah, I haven't.
So we probably should have gone. We should have had a rogue meetup.
That was like the next weekend, though. I can't remember. There was reasons why we were busy.
Well, we had like Christmas 3 weekends in a row.
Yeah, there was like a million.
So
holidays suck. It's so busy.
All right, Josh, you want to read Icy Spideys?
The next one's Jesus.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, not in mine.
Rogue One! Exclamation point. And another Ray theory from Jesus.
Oh, it's because we were replying.
Yeah.
Multiple days.
All right, here we go. How now, brown cow?
Do you want me to do it?
No.
You need some time?
Hello, Star Wars Nerds Unite. I have one huge problem with Rogue One. My face hurts. I was grinning for 2 straight hours, except when I was crying all the feels. I haven't heard the Rogue One episode yet, so I'll leave my thoughts about the movie for after I listen to it. Just one thing. I was proven wrong. At least some of the Ghost crew made it. I saw the Ghost flying around, and apparently Chopper's in the movie too. On to my theory. Are really an add-on to the Rey is related to Obi-Wan theory. Yeah, we've heard it, and it's still my favorite theory.
Mine too.
Although I still hope Rey's parents are nobody we know, but I haven't heard any conjectures as to who could be Rey's parents if she's Obi's daughter. Answer, Ezra and Sabine. Maybe we should save this for like a Rebels podcast. I'll just keep going, I guess. It's kind of a non sequitur, but it's Star Wars.
He has more stuff about Rogue One.
Does he?
He has another email. He sends in at least 1 or 2 more emails about Rogue One later. So maybe we should just...
We'll just read it.
Yeah, read it.
Who cares?
There's good stuff in there.
All right. Sabine and Ezra. Now, I'm only basing this on 2 things. Sabine and Ezra and Luke are around the same age, and that Sabine's mom knew Obi-Wan. It could be that after Duchess Satine's death, her sister, I don't remember her name, sought out Obi-Wan. Since he was grieving too, and after a few Corellian wine bottles, yada yada yada, they found comfort.
I wonder if they drank out of wine glasses.
Maybe. Obi-Wan seemed like a wine glass kind of guy.
Used a glass.
So right before the Clone Wars ended, and before she could tell Obi-Wan, Sabine was born, and Obi banished and was presumed dead. So far, we don't know who Sabine's dad is, so it really could be Obi. I mean, have you seen her jump? Sabine's connection to the Force might be dormant, but then there's Ezra. A sidebar, the new trailer for Rebels came out.
I haven't seen it yet. Blah, 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 blah,
How
blah,
far
blah,
back
blah,
are you
blah,
guys in
blah,
Rebels?
blah, blah. What's the last one we podcasted
They
about?
go to Dathomir. So you have not seen the one where they go to Dathomir?
No.
I don't know what Dathomir is.
Exactly. I can't talk about that then.
Yeah, don't talk about it.
No sidebar for now. Sabine's connection to the Force might be dormant, but then there's Ezra. Ezra is obviously a strong Force user, so Rey definitely inherited her Force abilities from him. This would also explain why was Rey left in Jakku. For Sabine, a Mandalorian, it wouldn't seem that harsh. So maybe Ezra could have been alive still by then, felt Kylo's turn to the dark side, and warned Sabine, and that's when she took Rey to Jakku. Anyway, that's our theory. I say out because this...
I think she...
Sorry. That's our... I say our because this came from a conversation my wife and I had. Anyway, talk to Tim about some... do you want to go through the sketches? No.
Yeah, I want to post them someday. He made 3 sketches. One is like a stylized logo that says Star Wars at the top with a bridge in between Star and Wars. And it says a bridge episode in like Star Wars like lettering. One. And then he made Geeka Balaba.
Who is Deepa Balaba dressed up as Steve Urkel.
And then he made a Nicto nickel candy.
Good stuff.
It's awesome. It's really cool.
I can go read Jesus's. We'll just do Jesus block.
Hashtag Jesus.
Hello, SWNU. After watching Rogue One twice now, listening to your Rogue One episode and watching A New Hope twice, here are my thoughts. The pace of the movie. Tim is right. Unlike other movies, this one does constantly build up to a satisfying climactic battle. I also like how the movie has a clearly defined prologue, the Urso Farmstead, the 3 acts of the plot, and an epilogue, Vader hacking and Leia getting away. Speaking of the epilogue, I loved how clearly defined was the difference from Rogue and A New Hope. There's a literal cut to the TAN-TV, so I can't say TAN-TV, even though that's how it's pronounced.
Yeah,
nature.
I had to force myself to earlier when I said it.
To the TAN-TV floor alarm and music from A New Hope, right after the very awesome and violent Vader Voorhees hacking and slashing the rebels. Also, I think this is the first time we see Vader killing someone with a lightsaber. Obi-Wan disappeared after all. Or someone that's not an Imperial officer.
I liked that he made up a term, Vader Voorhees.
Yeah, Vader-Voorhees.
Yeah, it was very funny.
He's a New Age son of a couple. Not the whole thing with everyone taking hyphenated names now.
His wife's maiden name was Voorhees.
Yes.
Good. Way to take something cool and turn it into something
You made it really lame.
Sorry. After watching A New Hope, I kind of like how Tarkin was recreated in Rogue. When I first saw the movie, I thought the CGI was a little stiff and a little too gaunt, but watching him in A New Hope, he did look like that.
He really did look like a dead person back then.
I kind of liked it more. I loved how Captain Cassian Andor says, Saul. I don't...
He had a different accent. It was kind of strange.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I'm supposed to pronounce it. Saw and come on and pretty much anything he said.
I don't know how he said. I mean, I think he's saying instead of saying saw, he said so.
No, he's saying that he says it like a Mexican person speaking English says it because Jesus talks that way.
How would
that's
a
why
Mexican person say saw?
I can't remember. I'm trying to think of how...
Well, why did he spell it out like so?
Because that's how he says it.
Saul. I don't remember how he said it.
So, I don't know either. But yeah, I loved that he had an
actual
Mexican accent.
Yeah, he had an
Being he
accent.
is from Mexico and all. But you are super biased, Jesus. But I liked Cassian. I liked the Mexican accent as well. Loved Chirrut Imwe beating up stormtroopers. Never thought I would see an actual samurai in a Star Wars movie. Fun fact: Baze Malbus, Shang Wen, spoiled Chirrut's death in the Rogue One panel at Star Wars Celebration. We talked about that in our Star Wars Celebration episode.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, what's super weird is in the movie, it seems like this dude could talk to you in a bar about basketball, right? He has pretty good English for a Chinese guy.
Yeah.
But at Celebration, he couldn't even say hello. Like, he was totally locked up when people asked him questions. And so, like, the only thing...
So he said, I die.
No, so he basically... The only thing he said was, when Chirrut die, I do something brave. That's what he said in Star Wars Celebration.
Oh my gosh.
And the whole cast has their hands on their forehead. Like, come on. You could say anything, but...
That's awesome.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
We need to Google that.
Yeah, it's super
Or search
funny.
it on YouTube.
And like you could tell, he just doesn't speak English.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so strange seeing him in the
You
movie.
wouldn't have thought that.
He seems at least comfortable speaking English.
Yeah,
he must
he
have
really
spent
did.
a lot of time practicing just his
His
lines.
lines, right.
He's an incredible actor. Better than I thought.
Wonderful way to deadpan that. I thought having the previous Red 5 being pretty much useless was a fun joke. Yes, not necessary, but still funny to go from that chubby guy to the hero of the rebellion. I can tell you the second time, it was even worse. Like, the first time you see it, I could understand, like, oh, yeah, okay.
Fan service.
The second time, like, oh, here's that stupid part where the fat Asian kid gets blown up so that we know why there's a Red 5. I hated it. Favorite Easter eggs. In Scarif, when the rebels are silently taking out the stormtroopers, two of them are talking about how the BT-15 are being retired, which is an Easter egg to the two stormtroopers in A New Hope talking about the new BT-16.
Didn't get that part at all.
That's a super deep cut, though.
Yeah, that's a deep dive.
Another favorite Easter egg is that Sau's rebels. See, now I want to say it like a southern the Target lady on SNL. You know who I'm talking about?
No idea.
I'm pretty sure it's Kristen Wiig, Target lady. You don't remember the Target lady? She
No,
has like this southern drawl, like
no.
I know who
Sau.
I know who Kristen Wiig is, but I've never seen a Target
You've never seen the Target
skit.
lady skit?
I'll have to look it up now.
It's like her thing. That's how I want to say it now. Thanks, Jesus. You should record yourself saying it so that we know the way.
Yes, and
that
then
you intended.
we'll play it live on the air.
Sau's rebels are playing Daharic, or do you say Dajaric?
I say Dajaric.
It's probably Dajaric, but I feel like in our world it would be Daharic.
You're wrong.
The chess game that R2-D2 and Chewbacca are playing on the Millennium Falcon, and with actual clay models, but they're probably like some form of steel. Everything in Star Wars is a form of steel, like transparent steel and Durasteel, and they're probably like Dirta-steel.
Or they might actually be clay.
I'm going with Dirta-steel. Overall, loved how realistic and dark it was, but the next standalone movie is probably going to be the exact opposite. For the Han Solo movie, we know everyone is going to live, or at least anyone important. I hope the tone of the Solo movie is something like this fan film.
What are they gonna? When is the Solo movie supposed to take place in the Star Wars
Before A New Hope.
timeline?
Considerably before A New Hope.
Okay.
Okay, this is what happens when I have free time. Thanks again for the awesome episode. Rogue Cinco.
Thought it was Cinco.
Why'd you say Cinco?
I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it.
Cinco.
It's Cinco.
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco.
I don't think it's...
It's cinco. I've seen Sesame Street.
That's fine. You can watch Sesame Street all you like.
Okay.
Is that the last Jesus email? It
It
looks like it.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh my gosh. We
There's
have
like
so many
13
emails.
more emails.
Okay. All right. Which one are we
I
on?
need two.
We're on Icy Spidey.
Yeah.
Here we go. What's up, Nerd Squadron? Nerd6 signing in. I love seamless transitions, so I really liked how
Wait
the
a
movie
minute. Didn't you skip some?
began practically where
No.
Catalyst left off. Although I thought it was crazy that Lyra was killed by Krennic's order and Galen still was willing to work for him. I understand that he was basically strong-armed into it, but if I watched my wife get murdered and assumed I would never see my only child again, I would have done anything to defy the Empire, which I guess in a roundabout way he did. Yes, I see Spidey. I feel the same way.
Okay.
CGI. Good one.
Peter Cushing was amazing. Fun fact about those scenes. During the filming of New Hope, Cushing hated the boots he had to wear for the Tarkin character and refused to wear them during most of the filming, which is why we never see any images of Tarkin below the shin. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Did you guys know that?
No.
Cassian Andor was a fantastic character. I liked how he showed that the Alliance, the good guys, don't always do good things. When he killed the informant so he could get away, that was so savage. But in times of war, you have to do awful things for the cause, and I think this is the first time we get to see that kind of a dynamic in a Star Wars movie. Using the hammerheads from Rebels and bashing the two Star Destroyers together in order to take the shields down was epic. I thought that scene was super cool. Best space battle of all time. It was pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like everything I've ever wanted. And the hammerhead thing was awesome.
Okay.
I loved it.
It was.
That's
It's so
everything
cool.
you've ever wanted.
It is.
That's how
I can
you're,
die
low
happy
standards.
now.
you're done.
Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favorite character ever, so when Bale mentioned him, I got insta goosebumps and thought that just maybe...
Hold up. We forgot to tell Jesus your Rey theory is terrible. Thank you. I forgot. It's a horrible idea.
I think that I don't know about that theory, but I think there's a chance that Ezra and Sabine will definitely get together.
A chance that they will definitely.
A chance.
Total
that they will
sidebar.
absolutely, positively,
I can't remember.
maybe.
I can't remember where I read this, but I read something about how there's evidence in the movie, it's in the visual dictionary, that Sabine's still alive, as of Rogue One. There's things in the visual dictionary about how she's still painting.
I would like to see that visual dictionary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Icy Spidey. I totally derailed your...
He was talking about we were getting goosebumps here, and then you blew
But
it.
he brought up Kenobi.
And thought that just maybe we were going to see Kenobi. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but a mention of Kenobi was good enough for me. That would have worked.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah, it would have.
No, it wouldn't.
No, because
No. Carry on. Stop thinking.
they would have just had to make him look a little bit older.
No, it wouldn't work.
It would have worked.
What do you mean?
Showing Obi-Wan in Rogue One.
Maybe just show his back.
Why? It adds
Like
no
Leia.
value whatsoever.
Let's see. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but a mention of Kenobi was good enough for me. I went into the movie saying I was going to be extremely let down if we didn't see R2 and 3PO, so I was grinning ear to ear when they showed up. Speaking of things that must be in all Star Wars movies, is the line, "I have a bad feeling about this," and K2SO named it in this flick. The cameo of Dr. Cornelius Evazan and Ponda Baba was a cool touch, but I was as giddy as a squirrel girl when I saw the ghost in the hangar on Yavin 4. I kind of didn't like that Vader made a pun when talking with Krennic. I was all like, Vader making a punny joke?
What punny joke did he make?
Don't choke on your ambitions when he was choking Krennic.
But that sounds like something Anakin would say.
Yeah, it's super lame.
Yeah, Anakin was pretty lame, except for in Clone Wars. What did he learn Did he learn that from Obi-Wan? But the end scene where he is in the dark and his red saber comes out of nowhere, OMG, I could watch that over and over. I loved the movie, but the things I loved most were the holes it filled. It makes sense now that the Death Star was so easily taken down, now knowing that Galen made it that way. It makes sense that the Rebel fleet that went to take down the Death Star was so small, because Vader took down half of the Rebel fleet when they were over Scarif. It makes sense why Obi-Wan wanted to take Luke to Alderaan, because he was going to meet Bail. And last but not least, that seamless transition into A New Hope was perfect. I can't wait to marathon all the movies with Rogue One thrown in. I could talk about this movie for hours, but that's all the time I have today. Nerd6 signing out.
I have to take umbrage with his assertion that he just now thought that the reason why Obi-Wan wants to go to take Luke to Alderaan is to meet Bail. Like, we've known that forever.
Yeah, we have.
Shame on you, Patrick Thalkin.
Well, some people don't think the same way as you
He
do.
thought that before. There's no way he didn't
Maybe
think
he's just
that.
piecing it all together and they
Yeah,
tied
and now
it in for him.
Nice little package, a little bow.
Okay, John Best. Josh suggested...
Wait.
What?
Why don't you read his other one? I see Spidey has a second one.
What?
Oh, no, it's about the Rebels. So you're good. Go.
SWNU crew. Saw Rogue One today. Here is my assessment and comments. Overall, I like the movie and would probably put it at number 3 in the rankings of all Star Wars movie content and provide 8 lightsabers.
Wow.
Comments. Kind of put off by the CGI versions of Tarkin and Leia. Not sure it was necessary.
Tarkin was necessary.
Leia was not.
Liked some of the linkages to Episode 4. We're Wanted Men.
It's talking about Ponda Baba and Dr. Evazan.
Mm-hmm.
Understand this is not directly a Star Wars movie, but missed the standard opening.
Way to be
I
old.
feel like a lot of people had weird expectations for this movie and like got upset about stuff that
the average
we knew.
person thought it was the next Star Wars movie. Like,
Well, John Best isn't
my
average.
sister was super confused when she saw a commercial with Darth Vader.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. The average person did not know that this was a prequel to A New Hope.
I wasn't expecting the scrawl, and I
Weird.
didn't care at all.
You're not an old man.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not. No.
John J. Best.
PIA.
PIA. He's
Had
not
trouble
old.
keeping up with the hopping around the planets in the beginning. Need a glossary.
They provided the glossary and the
I thought
cards.
that
But he
was
wanted a
jarring.
reference card to
Yeah.
go with it.
You needed a map. What if every
They
person...
should have handed it
Yes,
to you with your glasses.
Exactly. What if it came with a galactic
3D
map?
A 3D galactic map.
Well,
Yeah.
you're going to need to study this before you go in. There's going to be a quiz afterward. You're going to have to recreate the
Who's
galaxy.
Edu? Right here. It's
All right.
13 parsecs
Anyway,
to Yavin 4.
still amazed at the Empire's lack of physical and data security.
See?
Just seemed too easy to get maps out of the facility, access supposedly secured data without passwords, encryption. No, she figured out the password. It was her name.
That wasn't the password.
It's less
that
a
was
password.
The file
it was
system.
more a secret name.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that
that
was
was
the
where the
name
file
of the
was.
file or something. That was the folder, I think. The Empire is too incompetent to run the galaxy.
See, this is the guy who's like, oh, the choppy thing makes sense. Physical data security. Glad they added that.
John Best, Peoria, Nerd Squadron. Okay.
I prefer it if he did just PIA.
Yvonne.
I like that better.
Who was
Hold
going to
on.
read Yvonne? What? What?
This is the second time we talked about Dr. Evazan. So there's a part in the visual dictionary. There's these people on Jeddah that have half of their skulls taken away. And it's just like they have like a visor instead of eyeballs, and then the bottom of their head. I can't remember what they're called, but it's heavily insinuated in the visual guide that he made them. And that's why he's wanted on so many systems, because he made these creepy half-head people to be his minions.
Gross.
Yeah, it's super awesome.
Now you're a big fan.
Yeah. I want a Dr. Evazan card in Destiny.
We have 9 more.
9 more
emails.
emails?
How much time we got?
We're
Yeah.
in 52 minutes.
Yeah, Megasode.
Go ahead. You can read.
She
You
just
can
did
read
one.
Yvonne. Yeah, but Yvonne's a girl, right?
Okay.
I better do her
Go
email
ahead.
then. Hey, Star Wars nerds. Rogue One! Exclamation point. I went to see it last week, Thursday, in a surprisingly quiet theater. You know what I love about Rogue One? Question mark.
Oh my god.
I'm reading it like Nolan would.
Yeah,
It
stop
managed to
doing
be a
that.
gritty war film without making it too dark, both in brightness and in tone. It still had the hopeful Star Wars movie feel, especially knowing that in the next, and then she has in parentheses, previous, question mark, movie, the rebels would triumph. It made their sacrifice that much more powerful because the audience knows it's worth it, but the characters have to take it on faith. And it really is a story on faith. Faith in your allies, in your cause, in your family. It's so great.
Are you familiar with stage direction? You know you don't literally read stage direction?
What are you talking about?
It's if I just read things without
Especially knowing that in the next, in parentheses, previous question mark, you don't read the parentheses.
What?
if I
Sometimes
just
it helps
if
to-
it would sound like a run-on sentence, it wouldn't make
It
sense.
wouldn't.
Well,
if
it
I
wouldn't.
It
didn't
does if you put
explain
if you
it.
put the correct intonation in your
Correct.
voice in your sentence. It reads that way in
Read the
people's
stage
heads.
direction.
But you can
Act
read
on
the.
it. Don't read it literally.
She can read the parentheses. It's
To
not
be
a big deal.
honest, comma,
Yvonne put in
I had some
all this wit and humor, and she's over here, Rogue One, exclamation point.
I think she's doing great. Keep going, Jennifer.
Thanks, Tim. To be honest,
Why are you being weird to me? I'm defending you, you jerk.
I wasn't being weird to you. I had some difficulty getting into the movie at first. Suspecting that all the characters are going to die makes it hard to connect to them. Also, when they set up the MacGuffin as being the Death Star plans, we already knew the main characters wouldn't be the ones to actually complete the mission, as the Death Star isn't destroyed in this film. However, the film was beautifully shot and structured, and by the end I couldn't help but root for this lovable group of rogues, even though I knew they weren't going to make it out. Maybe another reason I couldn't quite get into the movie at first is that I didn't read the tie-in book, and I didn't listen to your review until after the movie, since I didn't want any spoilers. I have to agree that you don't get much of Galen and Krennic's rivalry without the book, but I didn't miss it while watching the movie. Maybe those opening scenes would have a stronger undertone, but as it was pretty clear what was going on. Galen wanted out of the Empire, Krennic wanted him back.
That's interesting. A perspective of that I haven't heard before, that it was not in fact jarring and made enough sense.
Well, she said it was jarring, but it still it was logical. She knew what was going on, but it was still, it added to why she couldn't get into the movie at first.
In fact, there was only one scene that I didn't really get, so maybe you can help me with that. What was up with Saw Gerrera's mind read torture creature? Is that a pre-established thing in the Star Wars universe? It didn't have any influence on the plot whatsoever, since all the information was on the flash drive, and the pilot didn't end up completely incapacitated as Gerrera threatened. That whole thing seemed unnecessary to me. The whole part with Saw was unnecessary. The whole thing. That's not...
So the creature is new.
It's just a weird... slimy monster.
There's a lot of stuff about it in the visual dictionary that I didn't care to read about because I thought it was dumb in the first place.
Yeah, it was really dumb.
But the consensus I got is you got to have some weird big creature. So
I think it was just to make Saw look creepier. Yeah, make him look scarier,
even more insane.
The big thing is that he's so paranoid that he can't trust this guy, so he has to use his mind reading space slug thing.
It's such a strange thing.
It is. It's super strange, and it didn't. So the first time I watched it, that's when I went to the bathroom and kicked over your popcorn.
Oh my gosh.
So I didn't see the mind watching or mind reading space slug
You
thing.
wasted so much popcorn.
But I did not watch the mind warping space slug
and it
thing.
didn't affect the enjoyment of the story.
No,
because
I started reading an article about it, and they kept talking about Saw's. It starts with a P. I can't remember what it's called, but Saw's thing. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Saw didn't have this thing. What is this? And then when I watched it again on Saturday, I'm like, oh.
Did you think that we paused it when you walked out?
No, I knew that stuff happened, but like
he is internet famous.
It's on the screen for so little time, and it comes out of left field and exits in left field so quickly.
Yeah, they never show it again.
Right. It's like I totally missed it. Like,
yeah, and the pilot was fine after like 5 minutes. He was like, huh? Oh,
Galen,
okay.
Galen Urso?
Yeah, sure.
I'm the pilot, yes.
I'll fly right now. Where do you want to go? Yeah, that whole part was ridiculous. Anyway, in fact, there was only one... Oh, I already did that one. Which was a shame, really, because it was a great opportunity to give us some Bodhi flashbacks. How did he get the plans? Was he undercover at the same base as Galen?
They talk about this in dialogue.
Yeah.
Where he took deliveries from Jeddah to Edu or Edu to Jeddah. He was a cargo pilot, and so he had been to Edu multiple times. And that's how Galen recruited him basically to his cause.
Galen said he saw goodness in him or thought he was worth something, and so he looked on him favorably and wanted to impress him and do well for him. So he agreed to deliver the flash drive.
Because he listened to his heart.
Yeah.
Or did Galen convince him to defect? How did he know where to find Gerrera when even the Alliance needed help getting into contact with him? It doesn't seem like they needed that much help. They knew exactly where he was.
Right. They just knew that anyone they would send to him would just get killed.
Yeah.
Everyone knew where Saw was.
Yeah, he knew. Right. They knew where he's in his crazy cave.
I agree that Bodhi, the guy Riz Ahmed who played Bodhi, was really good.
Basically, I'd have loved more of Bodhi. But I have to say, I loved what we got. Outcast Jin learning to work with a team. Foot soldier Cassian learning to follow his own instinct. Defector Bodhi, who goes from simply delivering a message to going on a straight-up suicide mission. Chirrut and Baze bickering like a married couple and providing comic relief and badassery.
Oh, you can't say that.
Breaking hearts at the end. I cannot get over Baze praying with Chirrut as he dies.
Chirrut.
K2SO as yet another great overly honest droid. Oh, speaking of droids, I can't believe you didn't mention R2 and C-3PO showing up in Rogue One. That really threw me off. I get that it's just fan service, but I just sat there wondering, What are you even doing there? Why aren't you two with Leia?
They are with Leia.
I think that's why I didn't mention it, because it was so immaterial.
Yeah.
I didn't need it.
It was in passing.
Yeah.
They could have left that out.
Yeah, that's another...
But,
yeah.
you know, a lot of people were like, oh my God, I know those two.
That's the problem. Like, they have to accommodate the fringe extremists of Easter eggs. Like, if I don't see R2, I'm going to say this movie's terrible.
I thought it was fine. I mean...
So they put him in for 2 seconds, you know? But Leia was there. She was with the fleet.
Anyway,
the fleet was at Yavin.
I'm looking forward to the Rogue rehash episode, or whatever great title Tim decides to give it.
Yep.
Whatever Rizamatis Lastage or whatever we're
There's
doing.
lots to unpack, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts now that the dust has had some time to settle. May the Force be with you, Yvonne. P.S. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to you guys butcher my name on air last time, so good luck on this round. I'll forgive you about the last name. Dutch vowels are hard. What?
Sisense.
Sisense, yeah.
Sisense gets you pretty close, but honestly, Tim, Yvonne does not contain a J sound. Yeah, you kept arguing with us about how it's obvious her name is Yvonne. That's not a weird name. That's pretty normal. And you were like, nope, I think it's Javon.
Javon.
No, I don't think I said that. I might have said Sidgesons.
I don't know.
No, she clearly...
She says Yvonne
it's her
does
name,
not
I
contain
think.
a J sound.
That's fine. If I mispronounced it, I apologize.
I think you probably just did it to argue, not because you actually thought that's how you said it.
I know that Yvonne is Yvonne. I know how to pronounce that.
Yvonne. Then again, I had no idea how to spell Autreve until I looked up the email.
Did you just mispronounce our last name?
She spelled it. She didn't spell the whole thing, so I said it how it was written.
I said how it was written. That's how some jerk-off says it.
Great.
Our name is pronounced Van Autreve. I'm just reading an email. Tim, get off my back.
Okay, but you were just on me about mispronouncing her name.
I was just telling you what she
And then you mispronounced your own name. Great.
I thought you guys were called Van Archer. Josh, you should count yourself lucky with your logical name.
That's part of why he is the way he is.
Regional flyer.
Thanks for the email.
Yeah, it's a good email.
That was a
have we ever read an email from Regional Flyer?
Is this somebody you used to work with, Tim?
No, I think we have. I think we have. I think.
If it's not your first letter, we'll just act like it is.
Thanks for sending a letter. If you did send a letter, we don't remember you.
Okay. You're unremarkable in every way.
Oh my gosh. Hey guys.
Well, he didn't give us...
I'm going to read it.
Yeah, go.
You guys should do it at the same time.
How about
go? Ready?
Hey guys, first of all, I love the podcast. It makes my 2 to 5 hours on the road daily more bearable. Why aren't you in the air, Regional Flyer?
Yeah,
I presume he's a trucker, and so he's doing a regional route.
Like that's his ham radio call sign or something?
No. I probably just flyer's jargon in that profession.
I don't know. Maybe he could answer that for us.
As for Rogue One, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I personally thought CG Tarkin was distracting and unbelievable, and also believe the Red 5 thing was quite unnecessary. You commented about how great it was that it rolls directly into A New Hope, which I initially thought was really cool. Thinking about it more, however, I think about the dialogue between Vader and various rebels. Both Leia and the first rebel that chokes on his aspirations. That's our favorite friend, Mr. Antilles, the John Smith of Star Wars. Kept trying to convince Vader they were on a diplomatic mission. If it was immediately following the closing scene, that would make those attempts very meaningless, since there would obviously be no way to fool Vader after chasing them out of the battle. The alternative is they got away initially, and after some time later, Vader found them. This is also strange, considering the entirety of the Imperial Navy would be after them, and it just happens to be Vader's destroyer that finds them? Anyway, sorry it's long-winded, but do you think the last scene of the movie literally ends with the first scene of 4? So yes, I will decompartmentalize this for you, because I have read lots of things, lots of hot takes on the end. The conversation between Vader and Leia and John Smith Antilles, can easily be written off as them playing a diplomatic game. Like, I'm sure you've heard articles or heard stories about like Saudi Arabian princes in the U.S. that have diplomatic immunity, where they go take a Lamborghini and like race it in the middle of a neighborhood and then get arrested for going 225, and they say, I'm on a diplomatic mission, and they can't get arrested.
Right, because they're at the consulate or whatever.
Right. Well, they're not at the consulate. They have diplomatic immunity, so the police have to let them go. So this is Leia playing that game. She knows, Antilles knows that Vader knows that they have what they did, but she's saying formally, hey, I am a member of the Senate on a diplomatic mission. You need to let me go. Because that is the formal method of evoking her rights as a person with diplomatic immunity.
I still think there's a little bit of time that passes. He's right.
Very little.
Oh, I don't think there's a ton, but I mean, they obviously...
Just the amount of time it takes to go through hyperspace from
a little
Scarif to Tatooine.
Yeah.
The reason that Vader's there is because he's there with the Devastator, and he doesn't want to be the one to go to Palpatine and say, I lost the plans.
Right.
So he's taking it incumbent upon himself to finish the job.
That was it, right?
That's it.
All right, here we go.
Broke it down. Thanks for the first email, Regional Flyer.
Yes, thank you. This next one is from Anthony Longletter. He says, greetings, my favorite Star Wars podcast. Sorry I didn't get my How Will They Die email to you in time. Life just got really busy. My predictions were a mixed bag. I definitely didn't think K2SO would die first. I actually thought he would be the lone survivor. I thought Cassian would die attempting to save Jen, which I thought I nailed at first, only to be weirdly disappointed when he comes back to shoot Krennic. It's funny to think that he was disappointed in that. I also thought that Jen would and Krennic both die at the hand of Vader. However, I correctly foresaw that Bodhi would die sacrificing himself for the team in a last-ditch effort or heroic run of some kind. I guessed that Baze Malbus would die in a fit of rage after Chirrut went down in a chaotic field of blaster fire. All in all, I don't feel too bad about my predictions. It's always easy to predict things.
Yeah,
How do we
Captain
know that
Hindsight.
you predicted this? You just wrote it down after it happened, kind of, sort of.
We got to take his word for it.
Yeah,
He does have an official name on Star Wars Nerds Unite.
he does.
I enjoyed this movie to the utmost. It was my second favorite Star Wars film, behind Episode 5. It was really good. I need to watch it again. And I can't wait to see it again soon. I enjoyed every performance other than Forrest Whitaker as Saw. He is the worst. Hold on, let me reread that. He is the worst. Why casting a chronic overactor in that role was a good idea, I have no idea.
So the worst.
Lesai.
Well, we're trying to say what the worst is. If it's not the Red 5 part, which it is, the Red 5 part's the worst. The second worst.
Did you?
Just
Come
it's okay.
here.
We get it.
To kill me.
He's super paranoid in Crazy Town. The second worst part is when the rebel communication officer is running fervently trying to catch up to Mon Mothma, and the pilot general guy, who's always wearing his flight suit for some reason, he's just always in his flight suit,
You never know.
accosts him and stops him like, what are you doing? Like,
Okay,
it's
that
so
was
out of
obviously
place
not the worst.
and
That was
terrible.
not the
It's
worst.
not the worst.
Most people
I'm
didn't
trying to
even
think of the
notice that
movie. It
part.
reminds me of when Charlie gets the golden ticket in, like, it's got that triumphant, upbeat song, and he's running through everybody, and
And then somebody just grabs him randomly.
yeah,
No.
it was the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory moment of
Oh
Star
my
Wars, and
gosh,
I did
no.
not like it. That's the worst.
It was not the worst.
Okay.
Keep going.
You were reading the
Oh,
email.
yeah. Jen. I just don't want to say that.
Yeah, he has a hard time reading this
Jen,
sentence.
you are so right.
Yes.
He was the worst part of the movie. I will never doubt your opinion on actor choices again. Oh my
Thank you
gosh.
very
Don't
much.
give her that much power. Other than that, I don't really know what there isn't to like. The war movie feel was pulled off successfully and breathed a fresh breath into what Star Wars can be. The fighting was tense and well choreographed. The characters were developed to appropriate levels. The sky fight was the best Star Wars has seen. I totally agree. The Easter eggs and homages had me going, oh, poodoo, did they just over and over. The CGI characters were super impressive. It really just goes on. I agree with almost all of those things, except for the homages. I don't need them. I don't think I need them.
I like homages and didn't like the Easter eggs. The Easter eggs are the things that stood out.
Let's finish
the Red 5 thing. I
thought that was an homage.
An homage is when you allude to something. That is just slapping it in your face.
An Easter egg.
Yes, that's
something
an Easter egg.
Something that is hidden.
It's not hidden. It's something
that's what an Easter egg is.
No, an Easter egg is something that is tribal knowledge that is not presented as such.
Who fills your Easter basket? Because
no, we're talking about Easter eggs in the reference of movies.
Ew, your mom did something weird. You go on an Easter egg hunt and you find colorful little surprises.
Yeah, packets of tribal knowledge.
Joshy, you ready for your tribal knowledge?
Yes.
Oh man, if there was a Star Wars Nerds Unite clip show, that would be part of it, I think. Oh, okay, here we go.
There's not much difference between Easter eggs and homages.
There is a difference.
Not to most people, I don't think.
This movie took me on the journey I wanted to go on. It took what I imagined the theft of the plans would have looked like from when I first saw episode 4 as a little kid and added beauty and grit to that rough idea. So, Star Wars. Seeing Vader kick Rebel, what's the Star Wars equivalent of that word?
I don't know. Posterior.
Was even cooler than I ever thought it would be. I literally keep seeing that scene in my head randomly throughout the day. Like any movie, there were some flaws, but I'll save the critiques for another letter, maybe. Sincerely, Anthony Longletter. Sounds very Knights of the Round Table.
I was thinking very Native American.
Tribal, perhaps.
Very tribal.
Okay.
His statement. It took what I imagined from So first off, I already butchered it because you put the twice. It was going to sound so poetic. It took what I imagined of the theft of the... I assume it's just too many thus. It took what I imagined the theft of the plans would have looked like from when I first saw episode 4 as a little kid and added beauty and grit to that rough idea. That's like a tagline in some chump's movie review in a newspaper. Like somebody...
Where?
You know those really bad movies that use critic review taglines on the front of the DVD box?
Yeah.
That's one of those.
Yeah, but his was very poetic and beautiful.
Right, all of them are very poetic and beautiful in of themselves, and then it's a movie about a giant alligator terrorizing a camp.
Just whatever.
It was just very manufactured.
He took a step back and wanted to say something profound, and that came out. And
I'm saying it was poetic.
I thought he accomplished it.
I said it was poetic.
Jen, I think you should read Mike's letter, since he's such a big fan of yours.
Which one?
Mike Young.
Where are we?
Summary of Rogue One, of R1.
I think I'm missing that one. I'm at Andrea's.
It's right before Andrea's. He sent another email, so maybe it was...
No, it didn't have the same subject.
Clumped together. I don't know.
What's his... I'll just have to search him in my email. Young?
It's really long.
This is the longest letter we've ever gotten.
Oh,
Maybe
I
that's
remember
not
this
true.
one. I don't know why his didn't... because he didn't... I searched for Rogue and he didn't write it that way. Okay. So, summary of Rogue One. This one? December 20th?
Yes.
Okay. Michael Young. Hello all. I hope you don't mind my snarky summary and it's long. I'm writing this email 4 standard days. I love how he says that. After seeing Rogue One twice and 1 standard day since listening to episodes 95 and 96 of SWNU. I played the system on seeing the movie twice on Friday, December 16th. A company trying to sell my organization their wares had a demonstration event. I watched their equipment demo, then they show us the movie for free. On Saturday morning...
That's what we did, Josh.
My organization
For Force Awakens.
Had a special showing of the movie, which I took my wife and 2 kids, ages 9 and 6. So within 24 standard hours, I saw the movie twice.
That's what we did for The Force Awakens.
It felt so good.
My thoughts on Catalyst and Rogue One. I listened to the Catalyst audiobook as you did. I agree with Jen on a lot of points that she made in her overview of the book. Interesting, Michael.
Oh my gosh.
A bunch of new places and planets that sound a lot like the places that we are familiar. This seems like laziness on the part of the author. Another peeve I have about the books lately is that a lot of people and places have a random letter change for no apparent reason. Don't you think so, Jin?
But people do call you Jen.
Only one person, but my name isn't. People nowadays do just like make up their own names. Like I know a ton of.
Yeah, Caden. There's 47 ways to spell Caden.
They're
all terrible.
Like, yeah,
but there's 37 ways to spell Caden.
That's like the new thing. I know so many kids who just have their parents decided to make up a new
It's going to get to the point where they're going to start using like Cyrillics and umlauts and things from other languages just because they ran out of ways to say Caden.
That's a really good idea, honey.
Okay, but I digress. It was helpful to have an introduction to the new characters before seeing Rogue One, but while listening to the book, it was not real enjoyable. I agree with that. Krennic just couldn't get his act together, and he was trying to accomplish tasks way above his pay grade. He started out in the book as a lieutenant commander and did anything he could to make full commander. In today's military, it's usually a given that you will get this promotion if you listen to your superiors and stay out of trouble. Then he wanted to jump from commander to rear admiral. There is a rank called captain in between. It's great that he is ambitious in his career, but he could have done it a lot easier. Now moving on to Rogue One. The rebellion busts Jin out of jail to ask her where her dad is. She doesn't know. How about stepdad? I don't know either. He dumped me like 5 years ago. Hey Jin, maybe it's you. JK.
Ooh.
Can you get us in to see him? Did you try sending an email or a text instead of dragging me all around the galaxy? Or don't we have this thing called a hologram?
Holonet.
That might work too. Nah, get the frequent flyer miles. Off to Jeddah. Jedi named after this planet?
Maybe.
Question mark? We go.
That was in parentheses, by the way.
Yeah. For no apparent reason but to torture the pilot because Saw thinks he's lying about something, put him in with the mind-sucking octopus when the only thing the pilot wants to do is deliver a thumb drive and go on his way. But no, Saw don't play like that. Apparently this thing messes up your brain for 10 minutes. That's completely true. Reunion time. Jin and Saw get together. Okay.
Here we go.
Oh my gosh, I've said this so many times.
I told you, he's such a huge fan of you. It's like he knew you were going to quote this.
Saw.
You don't have to say Saw. It's a script.
But in this case, you would.
No, you just use two different voices. You use the masculine voice and then the female voice, and everyone knows who you are.
Did you come to kill me? Then Jin says, no, but you should be concerned about that great big battle station in orbit. I have a message from your dad.
Nope, that's Saw's voice.
I know.
So do Saw's voice.
I can't do a crazy voice.
Yes, you can. You just did it.
I've rehearsed that one like 500 times. I have a message from I can't do it. From your dad. Watch it right here in front of me. Jin, can I get the thumb drive and watch it back on my ship? You know, the whole battle station thing? No. Watch it here so we can cry together. Okay.
That's way taking it from what it was.
What do you mean?
They didn't know the Death Star was there. She didn't know the Death Star was there.
No, they didn't know that yet.
No, they didn't know it was coming. But there was an urgency to try to figure it out. She was trying to get out of there, and Saw
was in no hurry.
Right.
Okay. While it was a tense battle and we almost got blown up, let's go get Dad. Will we need to break in and bust him out? Maybe we'll get lucky and he'll be standing around in the rain. Okay, more frequent flyer miles. One more cross-galaxy trip and I'll have enough for a vacation on Alderaan. Meanwhile, Krennic gets some FaceTime with Darth. Not really sure why he needed to see Darth face to face, but the Empire has money to splurge. Maybe Darth can give some advice on his ambitious career goals. That didn't go as well as expected. I think I'll go check on the guy who built the super laser. And he has a lot of complaints about this movie.
He went to go see Vader because he was trying to go around Tarkin's back.
Amazingly, everyone shows up at the same place at the same time again. Let's go get Galen and take him back. Look, he's standing out in the rain for no apparent reason. It should be easy to shoot him. We have a bad cell signal. I hope they don't send a squadron of starfighters and blow up the place. Oops, they killed Dad. Back to Gavin 4 with a new box. Ship? People really should take their keys with them when they get out of the car. Jyn figures everyone will believe her. She has no dog in this fight. Why wouldn't they? Not the case. Mon Mothma, as usual, can't make a strong decision. Who do we see at the meeting? None other than Bail Organa, who is hobnobbing with the Alliance Council. Then it's time to head back home. Do you guys want me to bring you back anything from Alderaan? Saltwater taffy, chocolates? We have another meeting next standard month,
a very
right?
famous wine.
They do have famous wine. Bail Organa started the Alliance.
Yeah.
There's a deleted scene from Revenge of the Sith where the Alliance starts.
And you
should
find
go
out
check
in
it out.
Ahsoka that he started the
Yeah.
rebels. Okay, well, the Council won't save the galaxy, so let's take matter into our own hands. Again, left the keys in the car, with a dozen buddies and stolen guns, is off to the beach. They get an idea of luring some Imperial troops onto the ship and stealing their uniforms to sneak around the base. I wonder if anyone will try to do this again in, say, a week on the Death Star. Again, Krennic needs to go to the exact same place as our heroes. Instead of sneaking around the base, they decide it's a good idea to alert the whole place that they are there by blowing stuff up. Nothing actually valuable, but just enough to be annoying and announce their presence instead of sneaking in, getting the plans, and leaving. And Krennic is the only person to notice that stuff is blowing up. Then he is told that the archives are being broken into. Since the other 10,000 troops are busy taking care of the dozen rebels, Krennic has to save his own butt. Since stormtroopers can't shoot straight, it's up to Krennic. But Jyn manages to steal the hard drive that contains the plans to the Death Star. She decides that instead of just getting off the planet with the whole thing, she will transmit the plans. Which
There was a shield. She couldn't get out.
Yeah. Which causes...
There's lots of holes in his
Which
anger.
causes its own problems. She manages to transmit the plans, and her boy toy shoots Krennic. By this time, the Empire decides to wrap up this mess and blow up the tower. In the last 5 minutes of the movie, all of the loose ends are tied up, and everybody that we just spent 2 hours getting to know dies. So after all of my snarky remarks, I give the movie 7 out of 10. Not great, but not too bad. What does a movie have to do to be bad for him?
I don't know. Do you write for Mad Magazine? He had a lot of Mad Magazine-like comments.
So
I've never once read a Mad Magazine.
Really? They're full of
more
snark.
negative than Josh.
Yeah,
He was doing it tongue-in-cheek, though.
Well, but he was still
He was really...
he was still trying to pick those holes apart.
Yeah.
Thank you for your long letter. That is definitely a perspective that we
should I
did
read
not
his
get from
other
our
one?
other fanboys.
Read his other one.
and
Yeah.
Okay.
I appreciate it a lot.
This
Hi.
is his follow-up.
Hi all, I'll try to keep this email shorter. In the latest SWNU number 96, you were giving your review of Rogue One and talked a little about your review of The Force Awakens. As I stated in my previous email, I give Rogue One 7 out of 10. The issues I have with the movie is that there is no character development and all of the main characters die by the end. These characters could have been interesting and added depth to the future movies and books. There was no reason to kill them all off. Maybe because of this, the studio didn't waste time developing them. Now for The Force Awakens. This gets a 1 out of 10. What?
There you go. That's what it takes to be a bad movie.
Essentially, it gets a 1 because it has Star Wars in the title. Kind of like getting 100 points on your SAT for writing your name. Basically, the movie was terrible, 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 terrible. No character development, nothing interesting. We learned nothing. The story had already been told. The characters were essentially boring, or they had parent issues. By the end, I could care less about ever seeing any of them again. Just my quick reviews. May the force be with you, Mike.
Whew. Better not tell them they're making 8.
Jeez. Mike, what? Do you like Star Wars?
We've covered that ground before.
I think most of his complaints about Rogue One were nitpicky, but like legitimately goofy things about the movie.
Yeah,
but I knew they were all going to die. I knew it wasn't going to be like any of the other Star Wars movies. So I think if you had really high, different expectations, it would be disappointing. But I didn't expect anyone to live at all.
Yeah, they tried to make a story so you cared about the last 20 minutes. That's what the movie was. So
I thought they developed the characters. I mean, I didn't think there was no character. The only ones I thought were goofy and misplaced was that group they just added on at the last minute.
I think there's even parts of Chirrut and Baze that are just too goofy. There's little moments that are good for all the characters. But I can understand why a person would say that.
Okay.
I just don't think it takes away from the movie, because that's what they're there for, to die.
Everybody wrote such long emails.
That they did. We're an hour and a half in almost.
Andrea's
next.
Spidey.
I'll read Andrea's real fast.
Obi-Wan.
I'll read it fast.
Matt.
All right, go, Josh.
Hi, SWNU. We watched Rogue One last night. This is probably Andrea and Andy. And I listened to your podcast today about it. Here are my thoughts on the movie. First, loved the movie. I also liked this more than episode 7 because it had a definite end and tied up a lot of loose ends. The thing I hated the most about the movie was that stupid cape that Krennic wore. Good night, was it flamboyant. I half expected it to have white leopard print as the lining. Also, did you notice he had a short version for bad weather and the long version for when he felt fabulous?
Oh my gosh.
However, the more I think about it, the more it was a good call by the costume designer. He wanted glory and to be the center of attention, which they also showed by dressing him in white when everything around him was black. We were supposed to hate him, so good job on to the costuming team.
I didn't notice different sizes in his
He did.
capes.
He had like his like urban poncho version and then
the fabulous version.
The fabulous version. Speaking of Krennic, one thing I thought they did amazingly well was how they showed the relationship between Krennic and Urso in such a short amount of time. I have not read Catalyst or listened to your podcast on it yet, so I knew nothing of these two men going into the movie. I thought they did remarkably well.
What's stopping you, Andrea?
In showing how much Krennic felt betrayed by Urso. They established they had known one another a long time, and Urso said he learned how to lie as well as made himself indispensable to the Death Star project. When Krennic found out about the betrayal, he seemed more hurt than anything. Krennic did not kill Urso, even after Urso confessed to betraying the Empire. He definitely punished him, but if he was unfeeling, Krennic would have killed him on the spot. Hammerhead
I
ship.
maintain that I think Krennic was in love with Urso, or like just absolutely obsessed with him so much that he...
I think he was so absorbed in his work, Galen was the closest thing to a friend he had.
Yeah, that was my thoughts as well.
The Hammerhead ship. Oh my goodness. I loved when that ship just pounded into the Star Destroyer and the chaos that ensued. I agree that Saw Gerrera was overacting, but I just thought he had gone crazy. I also assumed that he didn't try to escape because not only could he not run, but he was tired of life and ready to die. I liked that all the bad rebels went on the Rogue One mission. It's not that it would redeem all of their past horrors, but it would make them have a purpose if the rebellion won. They did those things in the first place so that the rebellion would win, and it makes sense that they more than others couldn't watch the rebellion roll over and admit defeat. Also, I'm glad that the movie in general showed the darker side of war. Doesn't it suck that the little girl Jin saved just ends up dying 5 minutes later? That's a bummer. My favorite Rogue was K2SO. Who doesn't love a sassy droid? Can't wait to hear what everyone else has to say. May the force be with you, Andrea.
I didn't even remember about that little girl until I read this email, and I was like, oh yeah, they made like a big deal about her rushing out there to save her.
They had to develop her character.
And then she was toast. Okay, here we go. Here's one from Icy Spidey that snuck in. He said, Nerd6 signing in. I just have a quick question for you guys. In the Rogue One movie, we see a man in a black cloak alert Vader that Krennic has arrived on Mustafar. Who do you guys think this guy in the black cloak is? Nerd6 signing out.
His name is Vanny, and he's Vader's personal assistant. And I said, I believe that is an unpaid internship position in the Galactic Empire. And he responded, is he in the Vader comics? No, but he has a section in the visual dictionary for Rogue One.
Here we have an email from Obi-Wan. He says, so what did you all think of the score? I don't recall this being mentioned on your podcast. As I expressed to Tim at the office, Rogue One was a great addition to the Star Wars movies, even though I didn't know any of the new characters. On Tim's advice, I listened to the Catalyst podcast and now understand the history between Krennic and the Urso family. I plan on going again this weekend. The last hour of this movie simply blew me away. Vader's red lenses were an awesome touch. Can't help but wonder how many times we can see the actor's eyes behind them as an homage to Bad, A New Hope editing. Great podcast. Keep up the good work. Thanks, Obi-Wan. I appreciate the email.
We haven't talked about the music that much.
No. We haven't.
You guys haven't sat and listened to the soundtrack.
I haven't sat and listened to it, and I've only seen it in the movie.
I've listened to it multiple times.
Tell me about it.
I'm going to tell everyone that they should go listen to a podcast. I don't listen to podcasts, but I stumbled upon this podcast in a conversation with a person on Reddit.
Josh won't even listen to our podcast.
I don't. Only when I need to verify things do I listen to ours. So there's this podcast called Star Wars Oxygen, and it's a...
You listen to a rival Star Wars podcast?
So it's this other podcast called Rebel Radio.
Is it on Coffee with Kenobi?
Rebel Force Radio.
Rebel Force Radio. They do a monthly segment or a monthly episode called Star Wars Oxygen. So they're up to like episode 39 or something of Star Wars Oxygen. It's really, really good. And it has a guy who is a sound designer. He used to be a sound designer for LucasArts, and now he works for Sony, and he does video games and stuff. And he breaks down like all the music super well. You should go listen to the one about Rogue One. It's only like the first of 4. They did 4 episodes for The Force Awakens, so there will be more coming. But they break it down super well, and it helps you appreciate the music even better. The soundtrack is awesome, especially because of how well it links into A New Hope. That's my short comment.
Okay.
How are you going to delete all this comments about a rival podcast out?
I don't know. I'm going to have to get a lot of lightsaber.
We're not a
noises in
music
there.
podcast.
I know. I'm just kidding. Next up is Coxtimus Prime. He says, I haven't written it in for a while and haven't been able to listen to the last couple episodes. Just wanted to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you and your families, as well as to all my fellow Nerd Squadron. Sorry, Coxtimus. We were a little late on that. Happy Holidays. Still haven't gone to see Rogue One yet, but hopefully going tomorrow on Christmas, and I'm beyond excited.
I love going to movies on Christmas.
Can't wait to hear the podcast after. Stay safe and wonderful wishes. Thanks, buddy. Does Linda talk about Rogue One very much? She talks about...
I don't know. This is
talks about Rebels.
And I can't watch this.
Why can't we talk about this?
Because I haven't watched them all. I don't want to.
Okay.
Her last
I'm going to read the Rogue One part. She says,
oh my gosh, this is a long one.
Hey, I think she bought some stuff from our Amazon link. Linda did.
Thank you.
Yeah, because there was like rocket scientist books on our referral link. What?
Maybe people don't want you talking about what they're buying on the internet.
She said that she's going to school.
A rocket scientist. Why are you so weird sometimes?
It's that maybe people don't want you to publicly announce their purchases. I didn't know what you were going to say.
Coxtimus bought some very exotic Chinese root vegetables on Amazon.
I think he made that up, but all it does is further show that the fans are using that Amazon link, so more people will want to do it because they want to all be like Linda.
But maybe people don't want you to buy stuff on there because then they think if they buy something on there, you're going to announce what they bought. Maybe it's something they don't want people to know about.
Okay.
Your purchases are safe with us
No, they're not.
as long as Tim doesn't look at it.
Oh my gosh. Here's her comments on Rogue One. Can we talk about the Jedi Bail Organa was talking about? When I saw it the first time, I thought he was referring to Obi-Wan and just thought it was a really nice lead into the movies and got really excited to hear him mention it again. Then I saw it again and realized he was talking about a she. The only person I could possibly think that he was referring to is my second favorite Star Wars character, Ahsoka Tano, which is honestly even more interesting. I'm not totally sure though and haven't really looked into it yet. She's the only female Jedi that I know of who is still, maybe, probably alive. If I remember right, Bail says that his Jedi friend has been hiding since the Clone Wars. She hasn't totally been hiding since the Clone Wars, so that's throwing me off. Though she has probably been hiding her presence from most people, except a few in the Rebel Alliance, so it could fit in. Does this mean we'll see her again soon, and where? It is also possible that this may be a totally new character that Bail was talking about, at the risk of introducing more annoying Episode 8 theories. Rey's mother? But how much Ahsoka and Anakin interacted with Bail in the Clone Wars, I think it would make most sense for him to be talking about Ahsoka. And we referenced this earlier. It was definitely Leia.
Obi-Wan and Leia.
Right.
And Ahsoka isn't a Jedi.
Correct. She is something else.
I was hoping to see Ahsoka in Rebels by now. Okay. But at this point, we may not see her until season finale, if at all. If Bail was talking about her in Rogue One, then this means she survives Rebels, and we will most definitely see her again after the events of A New Hope. Though technically, Bail may not know if she survived, it would make no narrative sense for them to mention her here unless she was alive. Her being mentioned even vaguely in a movie is a big deal, and I wonder if she'll show up in an actual movie sometime. From what I understand, there aren't any more plans for movies between the OT movies. OG movies? Is that what you meant? OT movies?
What people have been saying is the saga movies. The episode titled ones are the saga movies. So
perhaps she'll just be in more EU stuff. I'll take as much Ahsoka as I can get, but she's such a big character it would be a huge shame not to see her on the big screen somehow or other. I was hoping to at least see her in the background of Rogue One, but the Leia appearance was honestly more than I could have ever hoped for, and 1,000% makes up for the lack of Ahsoka. I would have rather seen Ahsoka.
You could go watch the Clone Wars movie.
She should read the Ahsoka book.
Speaking of freakishly realistic CGI characters, I had no idea Tarkin was CGI until days after I watched Rogue One. It was so realistic, even when I watched it again, it was barely noticeable.
I didn't know until Nolan told me. He told me like right after the movie, but I didn't know it at first.
I figured it was just a look-alike, or they used prosthetics like in Revenge of the Sith. I can't believe I watched the entire movie, not even realize one of the major characters was computer-generated. The future is now. We have cheated death. Rogue One was super good, and there is more I could talk about, but those are the main things on my mind after a second viewing. Haven't listened to your podcast on it, but I look forward to it. May the Force be with you, Linda. How many more? Just 2 more Rogue Ones. You want to do those?
Plow through them.
Let's just leave one.
All right. Peter Reinard, he says, SWNU crew, if I had one word to summarize my feelings about Rogue One, it would be wow. Man, this movie was massively stooky. The things I liked. Mustafar, number 1. Vader's castle was amazing. I loved how they made it so the place where he went completely to the dark side would be the place where he resides. It really did a favor to the fans, like me, who consider Episode 3 as their favorite movie. I've never met anyone that thought Episode 3 was their favorite.
No, you have.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think it might be Nolan's favorite.
It's my favorite of the prequels, for sure. Easter eggs. I was hoping for Rogue 2 to be in... Oh, R2, sorry. To be in it because she is the best character in the whole universe, but wasn't too optimistic. I loved it when she and C-3PO showed up, plus the 2 guys from the bar gave me chills. I didn't spot the ghost, but thought it was a great idea.
I don't think it's ever been referred to as having like a human orientation.
Shinder.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I never even heard of anybody like referring to it as a female.
I don't know. I'm trying to remember if C-3PO does.
No.
K2SO. This droid was one of the best droids I've ever seen. I went into the theater without reading any of the internet spoilers and loved how he was actually made to serve the Empire, but was reprogrammed to help the cause of the rebellion.
I liked him a lot.
Yeah, I thought his character was cool, and the design of him was awesome. Space battles. I loved the ram ship that smashed into the disabled Star Destroyer to take out another. The whole idea of having to take down the shields was awesome. 5. The end. Wow. This ending was a lot to take in, and I could go on for hours with this, but I'll be brief. Whenever I ask about a movie I haven't seen, I always says, they all die. Oh, he always says, they all die. I never believed they were all going to die.
He left out a word. Whenever I ask, I'm assuming he's talking about somebody, about a movie I haven't seen. He always says they all die. I don't know who he's asking.
Okay.
But he's asking somebody.
R2 maybe.
Maybe R2.
I never believed they were all going to die, so when he told me this before I saw it, I dismissed it as one of his jokes. Turns out he was right for once. I loved how it led right into A New Hope. That was pretty cool. Things I disliked. Tarkin. I did not like the CGI work that went into recreating the Grand Moff's face. I thought it would be better if they got a new actor and put on makeup to resemble the original actor's face. It looked very unrealistic and not believable. They only pulled it off with Leia because you could only see her face for a few seconds.
I would disagree.
I thought
they did not pull.
I thought the exact opposite. 2. Saw Gerrera. This character is definitely not one that I liked at all. I agree that it was overacted and he felt fake. He felt like a terrorist that has only a small portion of his body left. The trailers made it seem like he had a huge role in the movie, much like Phasma in Episode 7.
Yeah, they did.
I hope he does not show up in other EU works. He does. Isn't he back in Rebels?
He did.
Well, now he's dead.
Past tense.
Too much typicalness. A lot of the things were too predictable for me. I didn't really like the stereotype of a monk-like mystical person for Chirrut Imwe. I thought they could have been more original. Plus, I thought the subtle romance between Jyn and Cassian was unnecessary for the plot, and it was stupid. He's got this, long, well-thought-out letter, and then he just, says something stupid. I like that. That was funny. Not every Star Wars movie needs a complicated romance, Lucasfilm. On that note, can we have less dads?
Everyone's got a dad.
That's all for me for now.
Yeah,
keep up the great work.
Everybody has daddy issues in these movies.
They do in real life, too.
I didn't think it was that complicated of a romance. And they didn't play to it hardly at all.
I thought it was
It was
fairly subtle in the grand
subtle.
scheme of romances.
I mean, Tim was convinced that Saw and Jyn they had a thing.
Did I say that?
Yeah, I'm referencing your lack of being able to
Pick up on the
subtle cues
of romance.
Yeah.
Thank you for the letter. Here we go. John J. Best, PIA. Finishing episode 96, discussion on positioning of the episodes drew my attention. So in addition to my comments previously provided,
You skipped over episode 95, his response. I guess that's more about Catalyst.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. I'm
trying to get to Rogue One.
Got it.
So that we can end this 2-hour-long podcast almost. Number 1, episode 4, New Hope. I should have done them in reverse. Number 2, episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. 3rd, Rogue One, Star Wars story.
I don't understand the random insertion of Rogue One.
It's third
if you're
best.
not... Oh, this is his ranking.
Yeah.
I thought this was his positioning of watching.
No, because we hadn't discussed that yet. Number 4, Revenge of the Sith, by a nose over episode 7, primarily due to the last 40 minutes.
Discussion on positioning of the episode.
Yeah, but
or so on the conversation of Anakin, Darth Vader, and Order 66.
The way Tim is presenting it is correct. It's his rating, his ranking.
How much he likes them?
Yes. Number 5, Force Awakens. Very close to episode 3, but the repeated let's build a super weapon so that the rebels can destroy it again takes away from the main storyline. 6, Phantom Menace. 7, Return of the Jedi. Hate the darned Ewoks. Yub yub. Except for it's yub num, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't speak Ewok.
8, Attack of the Clones. May the Force be with you. John J. Best, PIA.
I can't believe he likes the Phantom Menace more than Attack of the Clones.
I was surprised about that too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The Phantom Menace is really bad on rewatch.
I would be interested in hearing from the other listeners what your ranked order is now of the Star Wars movies inserted with your watch order.
Not those are two separate things.
Right. He wants both.
Yeah, I want both.
Well, he said inserted with.
Yeah, what he said made no sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is you're an idiot. Yeah, I got it. That was a long episode, and I'm happy that we're ending it. Thank you to all the fans.
It's been forever.
We haven't recorded in like 3 weeks.
We're going to record this weekend, I think.
Yeah.
Try to.
Multiples.
Thank you for all the letters. It was awesome to get that much response. Rogue One was a highly successful episode for us. Hopefully this follow-up, we can make all the rest of you as famous as Josh Mason on the internet after we read your letters on the air. Check out our Amazon link off of starwarsnerdsunite.com and buy stuff. And then I'll comment about it on the air.
Yeah.
What else? We're on BenView Network and Retro Junkies Network.
What are we going to try to do next?
Rebels.
Yeah, we got to do Rebels. We got to get caught up.
Rebels block.
Hashtag
again.
Rebels block again.
Hashtag Rebels block forever.
Yeah.
They just sneak up on you.
Yeah, they do. We got to do Ahsoka too.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't done Ahsoka yet?
No.
I thought we did Ahsoka.
No,
we haven't.
Holy moly.
Holy Moses.
Maybe
I can't
we
even
should
remember what that book's about.
Maybe we should do Ahsoka first and then Rebels.
I'm currently listening to the rise and fall of the Third Reich, and so my brain is completely
I'm listening to
book-mashed.
War Brides.
Yeah.
I'm listening to The Knicks.
I don't know what that is.
I just finished A Man Named Uva.
Yeah, I just finished that too. It was a really good book. Oh, what else do we plug? Twitter, Facebook, all those things. Go there, like us, comment. If you want to join in lively conversation, Twitter, Facebook. If you want to be read on the air, letters at starwarsnerdsunite.com. Tell your friends about us. Rate us, review us on iTunes, Stitcher, all those things. One thing we didn't mention that is probably notable is the death of Carrie Fisher. Anybody want to talk about that?
Sad.
It's people die.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
I was upset about it. I don't generally get upset about people dying. I mean, I didn't cry or anything, but I was
like really surprised.
Yeah, I was starting to like her more and more, like with all of the various interviews and things that I've been seeing her in. She seemed genuine, where a lot of people are not.
I saw a really funny interview. Like after she died, people were just putting interviews up, clips up everywhere, and I saw some really funny ones that she did. She just didn't care what people thought. She was just herself. She was never fake.
Yeah,
she was really smart.
That's a really cool thing. And she'll be missed by a lot of people. And she was. I mean, people were talking about her everywhere. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say on it. We don't need to beat it into the ground.
Okay, sentimental Sally.
Hey, you know what? I'm sure a lot of people were a lot more sentimental than that. Why don't you listen to your other podcast and see what they thought about it?
I only listen to Star Wars Oxygen. I don't listen to the other episodes.
Okay. All right, guys. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
Did you hear that? We're doomed.
This podcast is a part of the BenView Network.
You can find this and other podcasts like it at benviewnetwork.com.